Sure they work. Just make sure it's not glowing. Glowing, yep. Red or there. Yeah. Oh, yeah. This guy? Really? Shocking. That's my Huey, and that's my Henry.
All right, 6 o'clock, we're going to call the meeting to order. Have the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the
flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Recognition, this is to advise the general public that in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, the LEHSD Board of Education caused to be posted at the office of the Board of Education located at 307 Frog Pond Road, Little Lake Harbor, New Jersey, faxed on January 9, 2019 to the Asbury Park Press, Atlantic City Press, Manahawkin Newspapers, and Sandpaper, and to the Office of Municipal Clerk, Little Lake Harbor, a meeting notice setting forth the time, date, and location for this meeting. Roll call.
Mr. Malone.
Here.
Mr. Dahlia.
Here.
Mrs. Giannuzzi. Here. Dr. Gross.
Here.
Mrs. Palin.
Here.
Mr. Zimmerman.
Here.
Mr. Moncrief.
Here.
We are in session.
All right, approval of the agenda, recommend motion to approve the January 28th agenda. Can I have this motion?
Motion. Second.
Any questions? No question? Roll call.
Mr. Malone.
Yes.
Mr. Dahlia.
Yes.
Mrs. Giannuzzi. Dr. Gross.
Yes.
Mrs. Palin.
Yes.
Mr. Zimmerman. Mr. Moncrief.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Approval of the minutes, recommend motion to approve the following minutes. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Second. Mr. Malone, Dr. Gross. On this, I'm going to ask Mr. Zimmerman and Mrs. Giannuzzi to abstain from December 10th and December 18th minutes. Mr. Malone.
Yes.
Mr. Dahlia.
Yes.
Mrs. Giannuzzi. Confirming you'll abstain from the first two there. Dr. Gross.
Yes.
Mrs. Palin.
Yes.
Mr. Zimmerman.
Abstain the first two, yes.
Thank you. And Mr. Moncrief.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Board presentation. First we have George Mitchell, Volunteer of the Month by...
It was Alex Henderson. He was unable to make it tonight, so I'll make sure he gets his certificate.
Okay, Alex Henderson, just for the record, was recognized as a Volunteer of the Month. Frog Pond Elementary Volunteer of the Month presentation.
I'm here for Troy. I'll do that. Obviously, I'm not him, but he asked me to do a couple of things today. So I'll be speaking a little bit later about Students of the Month for Frog Pond. Actually, I would thank any of this. And I'll start with the Volunteer of the Month. Tracy Laney, are you here? She isn't. I'm going to read this real quick, though, because we do want to recognize Tracy for her hard work at the Frog Pond School and the district. Troy writes that we're very fortunate to have Tracy Laney volunteer in our district for many years now. She's among our most reliable volunteers at the Scholastic Book Fairs and the PTO Holiday Shop. She often lends a hand in our media center and will not hesitate to come and help with special projects. Her oldest child is Mackenzie, who's now in grade 6 at our school here at Frog Pond, and Troy is hoping that even though she may move on to Pinelands, that Mom continues to volunteer here in our district. So congratulations, Tracy, and I'll make sure she gets this.
Next, George Mitchell update, student updates, Sienna Carroll and Sage Bundy, 3rd grade students. You can come up to the microphone.
Mr. Mazur, can you help them with the microphone?
Yeah, there's a microphone there. Make sure it works. There you go. There you go.
Hello, my name is Sage Bundy. I am from Miss Murphy and Miss Rizzo's 3rd grade class. 2019 is off to a great start at George J. Mitchell School. We are now celebrating School Spirit Fridays. Students and staff are encouraged to wear their favorite George J. Mitchell school apparel or blue and white. Last Friday, the kindergarten classes had a special visit from the school mascot, the Osprey. On January 4th, an assembly was held to honor our students who earned academic achievements, character education, and bus behavior awards. Students received certificates and pins for their hard work and dedication. Congratulations to all of the recipients. We are excited to announce that our music teacher, Miss Rasha, will be hosting an after-school yoga program with the 3rd grade students. This will be a great way for students to learn calming strategies and become more mindful. Thank you for all of your support, and have a wonderful evening.
Next, we have the Frog School update. Julia Maxwell, 6th grade.
Hello, I am in the Stanford and Musa's class. Dr. McCoy and members of the school board good evening. This month, Frog Pond students attended an assembly presented by David's Dream and Believe Cancer Foundation. The spoken presenters talked about the importance of spreading hope to those affected by cancer and how much caring and encouraging messages help in healing. Based on this idea, an after-school club has been established to creating cards, writing letters, fundraising, and sharing messages of hope. These messages will be delivered to those battling this horrible disease. Our school has once again participated in the Scripps National Spelling Bee. Grade level bees were held last week, and our school-wide winner, Brianna Nuzzo, will go on and complete the state-level spelling bee. The Battle of the Books is on. This is a fun way to get kids excited about reading. Students will have an opportunity to choose books, 6 out of 10 books to read. In May, the battle begins. Students who read 6 books will participate in a tournament. Teams will be created and they will answer questions based on the books they have read. I did this last year and I'm doing it again this year.
Next, we have the presentation of the students of the month. First will be George Mitchell and Denise Kiner.
Good evening. First up is Tom Brocklebank from Mrs. Cuccinello's kindergarten class. Tommy is a terrific student. He comes to school every day with a smile. Tommy often tells others, TV is really fun, but school is more important. He cares deeply for his friends. When a classmate was absent, he told the class, but he's in our hearts too. Thank you for sharing your positivity with all of us. Congratulations. Next up, Colton Taylor from Mrs. DeSecchio's first grade class. Every day, Colton arrives with a positive attitude, an excitement for learning, and a smile. Daily, he demonstrates great respect and caring. Whether it is to explain an activity or help a classmate pack up at the end of the day, Colton is always ready to lend a hand. He is a true role model for his classmates. Great job, Colton. Derek Lanez from Mrs. Gatsby's second grade class. Okay. Read a quick little summary about him and all his great work. Derek arrives each day with a smile and a positive attitude. He is a polite boy and friendly to everyone. Derek is a hard worker who has been making wonderful progress this year. Keep up the great work, Derek. Gabriel Forsythe from Mr. DeMaro's second grade class. Gabe has had such a wonderful and awesome school year so far. He comes in every day and sets up our calendar for all of our friends. He brings such a positive energy to class, and he is well liked by his peers and all the adults that work with him. Go, Gabe, go. And Alexander Hickey from Mrs. Savage's third grade class. Alex is an awesome kid. He is a friend to everyone and always gives his best effort. Alex is has a charismatic personality and walks into every class every day with a smile on his face. Congratulations, Alex.
Yeah, our new board members are going to have Abby and I'm going to come with the kids. Move this way. So, I'm going to bring it in front of the table. Alex, take your coat off.
You're going to follow the kind of. Come on, Nikki, we're going to get a picture.
Matt, just take your get ready. There's it.
Good job, guys. Now you're going to get a little closer together. On 3, you're going to cheese. Repeat. All right, guys, we're going 1, 2, 3. You can do better than that. All right, for real now. You ready? 1, 2, 3. That's better.
Kids, take some cookies and milk. Otherwise, we have to eat them all.
Yeah, you can take
We weren't counting, but I think it was just one. I'm here to share some information about the Students of the Month for Frog Pond School. We're going to start in 4th grade from Mrs. Clauser, Mrs. Denise's class, Jake Mandel. Come on up, Jake. See, this is not into a certificate. Jake's teachers write that Jake comes into our classroom each morning with a big smile that we just saw, and he's an exemplar student throughout the day. He was always prepared to learn, focused, and puts forth his best effort. Jake is so polite, I think there's 5 O's in there, and kind-hearted, and always willing to help his teachers and his classmates. Congratulations, Jake. Also in 4th grade, Cooper Hunter from Mr. Most's room. Cooper, are you here? Yes. Cooper's sister over at the Mitchell School, but Cooper, this is about you here at the Frog Pond School. Mr. Most writes, Cooper is a pleasure to have in class. He has made great progress in all subject areas since the beginning of the school year. Cooper is an enthusiastic learner and arrives at school each day with a smile and ready to learn. Congratulations, Cooper. Gianna Tosolino, are you here from 5th grade, Miss Gunn's room? Come on down. Ms. Gunn says Gianna is always giving her best to everything that she attempts to do in class. She is showing a great deal of growth because of her determination, hard work, and never give up attitude. She's caring, extremely helpful to her peers, a very good artist, and overall a role model for all students in our school. Awesome words. Congratulations. And from grade 6, Mrs. Danson in Willis Cross class, we have Rowan DiCiato. This month we are nominating, this is from the teachers, Roman as our Student of the Month. Roman is a hard-working, respectful, caring, funny, and just an all-around great student. He reaches out for help when necessary and takes it upon himself to make his learning environment work best for him. Roman takes pride in his work on a daily basis. He is a positive role model and someone we know we can depend on. Also, in kind words to his These are your Rock Pond students of the month.
All right, guys, do the picture too.
You guys know the deal. All right, kids, you ready? We choose on 1, 2, 3. All right, take that.
Thank you, guys.
And very quickly, Derek Linares just showed up. Come on up. Come on up. So read the great things about you. Derek arrives each day with a smile and a positive attitude. He's a polite boy and friendly to everyone. Derek is a hard worker who has been making wonderful progress this year. Keep up the great work, Derek. Congratulations.
Want a quick picture? Real fast and then we'll move on. Okay.
There it is. We're going 1, 2, 3.
Buddy, you want to join?
Not on the spot.
Oh, sorry.
Of course, of course.
Justin.
Scooch over this way just a little bit.
Thank you.
Yeah, now we're cooking. All right, we're going 1, 2, 3. Cheese.
Cheese.
There we go. Perfect.
Thank you.
Okay, I think that covers the students of the month, but we're going to go back for a second. I believe Sienna Harold arrived to add to the George J. Mitchell update.
Good evening. My name is Sienna.
And my name is Sage Bundy. We are both from Miss Murphy and Miss Rizzo's 3rd grade class. 2019 is off to a great start at George J. Mitchell School.
We are now celebrating School Spirit Friday. Students and staff are encouraged to wear their favorite George J. Mitchell school apparel, or blue and white. Last Friday, the kindergarten classes had a special visit from the school mascot, the Oscar.
On January 4th, who earned academic achievements, character education, and bus behavior awards. Students received certificates and pins for their hard work and dedication. Congratulations again to all of the recipients.
We are excited to announce that our music teacher, Miss Renshaw, will be hosting an after-school yoga program for 3rd grade students. This will be a great way for students to learn calming strategies and becoming more mindful.
Thank you for all your support and have a wonderful evening.
Grab a cookie, please. Go ahead. And now's a chance for all the students and their parents to make a choice, either stick around for the rest of the meeting or make a quick exit. Kids, grab some cookies on the way out. And milk. And milk.
Yeah, got a long break. Hey, congratulations on this school.
Thanks, Bob. How you
where that pot
Okay, we'll pick up with the 2017-2018 audit presentation. Michael Garcia and Chief Colby of Ford Scott & Associates.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Gene Volpe. I'm Audit Manager at Ford Scott & Associates. Mike Garcia, partner of Ford Scott. I was one in field work here in the district. And I'm going to start off by reviewing the AMR. And I'll turn it over to Mike to review the financial information for the district. So you should have a handout there. I'm going to start on page, like the fourth page.
Use the microphone.
Sure.
Is that better? Thank you. So I'm going to start on the AMR. I'm just going to review one area. If you turn to page 6 of the AMR, the page numbers are at the bottom. I'm going to start off with following up basically on a comment from last year's audit in regards to the community school. And also I want you to look at the B5. There's 2 of those, one from 17, one from 18. You'll see those. In last year's the AMR, there was a deficit slightly over $56,000 in the community school. It was a result of operations from 2017, which was around $48,000. But if we look at this year's B5, the 2018, you'll notice that there was only a slight increase in the deficit, about a little over $400. And you want to say, well, why was the deficit only go up $430? It was basically a result of a good job by the administration to decrease salaries and benefits in that area. And basically, it kept the deficit stable from 2017. So also, we did not issue a formal recommendation again this year, since the overall net position in proprietary funds did not result in a deficit. There was actually a surplus there. But we would like the district to continue to monitor this area closely throughout the year. That's all I have on the AMR. Before I turn it over to Mike, I would like to thank Business Administrator Nick Brown and his staff, and especially Ann Facemeyer, for all hard work and assistance during the audit process. She was a pleasure to work with and will be missed by all who work with her, including myself. So, thank you.
Thanks, Gene. The handout that everyone has, the C1, is it the first page or the last page to direct them to? Should be the first page. The very first page is C1. Do we all see that? And I just want to recap the fund balance for the general fund. The general fund is the main operating fund for the school district. And what we're looking at here is the bottom line page. And I'm going to be looking in the actual column. Towards the middle of the page, you're going to see fund balance June 30th. The total fund balance or surplus in the general fund is $3,078,492.56. That total amount is broken down into several components, and I'm going to go through them briefly with you. They're listed at the bottom of the page under the recapitulation of surplus and fund balance. First, you will see the first account, or the first component of that $3,078,000 in fund balance, is titled Current Year Excess Surplus in the amount of $898,808.73. Just as a quick reminder to everyone, the state of New Jersey imposes a 2% cap on surplus or fund balance for school districts. Whenever you have funds in excess of that 2%, it gets set aside in this reserve account, and that money is then required to be used to offset taxes in the next fiscal year's budget. So in this case, the $898,000 will be used to fund your 19-20 budget, the next budget that you're probably working on right now, as a matter of fact, but the budget that will go into effect for July 1st of 2019, the 19-20 school year. Right below that, we have an additional amount of excess surplus that's designated for subsequent year's expenditures in the amount of $512,497.05. This is the amount that we were above the 2% 2 years ago, the June 30th, 2017 budget. That money was set aside and is now being used to fund the current year's budget, which would be the 18-19 school budget, is being funded by these surplus funds in the amount of $512,000. Continuing on, we have a capital reserve in the amount of $608,692.43. That money is set aside and can only be used for capital improvements to your district facilities. We also have a maintenance reserve in the amount of $66,500, similar to the capital reserve set aside, can only be used for maintenance and repairs of your buildings. We have a reserve for encumbrances in the amount of $426,590.99. The encumbrance reserve is money that is set aside to pay purchase orders that relate to the 17-18 school year that were not paid in cash by June 30th. It's very normal operating procedure that vendors don't get all of their paperwork in to get paid by June 30th. So this money is set aside to pay those open invoices, and that is ultimately spent on the appropriate expense for the 17-18 year. We have an additional amount of fund balance that was designated for subsequent years' expenditures in the amount of $9,701.95. So that's additional funding that was used in the 18-19 school budget. Finally, we have unassigned fund balance in the amount of $555,701.41. That's your 2% number. So that's a maximum amount that you're allowed to carry forward from one year to the next. So you do have your full 2%, which is good. You have the reserves, both the capital and the maintenance reserve that we talked about, and you've generated some excess surplus through the 17-18 budget. Remember, with declining state aid, having this excess surplus is going to be very important to help you balance that next budget. It's going to be very difficult with declining state aid. But those are the highlights of the financial statements, and once again, Gene discussed the auditor's management report and the issue with the community school. We have no formal recommendations, so it's a clean audit. It's always a pleasure to present a clean audit. Nick's done a great job since he's been here as the business administrator, and I'm sure that will continue. But one of the main reasons he was able to produce a clean audit is because of Ann. It's been a pleasure to work with her over these years. She's kind of behind the scenes, so I don't know if everyone realizes how much she does and what an valuable asset she is to the district. I guess in about 6 weeks from now we will all see, if you didn't know already. But she does a terrific job year after year, hard work that she does. Frequently as the auditor we only report bad news, so I'm a little happy today to at least get to say, to acknowledge the fact that we appreciate all your hard work, and I'm sure the board does too.
Thank you.
Unless there are any comments or questions for me, that's all I have for you.
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you all. Good night.
Next, we have a presentation by Spiegel Architects.
Hello. So last time I was here, we talked a little bit about the facility assessment and the potential projects that would come out of the assessment. And one of the things that we talked about that the board seemed interested in is the ESIP project, which is where you can put out projects that pay for themselves by the savings they create. So it's an energy savings type project. That includes all your lights, some controls and things of that nature that we can do for no cost to the taxpayers. Everything is paid for. So even though it's bonded through money that's reviewed by the BPU. It shows it has to pay for itself. So whatever money you save from your energy bill goes to pay for the bond. And with that, we were asked to submit a proposal, which I believe you all have copies of. So that proposal was submitted. There's a couple of phases with this proposal, and the way that the ESIP project works is not as clean as just going out to bid and say, hey, I want to replace my lights, and you put out a bid, and that's it. There's a lot of checks and balances along the way. So the first phase is the energy savings plan and the development phase, and that's where we would help solicit a third-party energy audit firm that would come out and do a very deep dive. Like you've had a very high level of the free audit that the state provides. So they go through and do what's called an investment grade audit, and that's where they really hone in on all the real savings that you have and what potential projects could come out of that. And generally, these are projects that pay for themselves within the 15-year period, and that's how long the bond is typically for. So in the initial energy audits that were out there, the assessment showed about a $900,000 project. So essentially, it's saying that you have enough savings, about $900,000 worth of savings, that you can do lighting and other projects that fit within that $900,000 over that 15-year period. So that first phase is really the most critical. That's where that company will come in, they'll do the audit, review everything, and then we can look at it and say, okay, here's the list of all these projects, and it's almost like, you know, sort of a Chinese menu where you go through and say, okay, what if we put this project in and this project in, and make sure it pays for itself in 15 years. If not, you move that one out, maybe move a different one in, and you keep picking and choosing the projects that are important to the board, and those are the projects that you move forward with. So at the end of that phase, there is another third-party review. So the state requires that a third-party reviewer review this audit to make sure it's in line with state requirements, and then it gets submitted to the state, the BPU, for review, and they'll approve it. Once all that's done, then we have a project. Now we know whatever the projects that you guys selected in that energy saving plans, and it was verified by a third party, verified by BPU, then can go to almost a normal traditional bid, where we would then go out to bid, and that's where we would get a little more heavily involved, and we would do the design and bidding of those projects to start the construction. That part then goes into construction, closeout phase, so that's where we would have a contractor, we would bid, we have a contractor just like a regular project. The only difference is, now because there's energy saving involved, there are also some grants that we apply for. The contractor has to then submit for those grants and provide invoices and receipts. And at the end of construction, there's another third-party verification that comes out, and they'll do a review to walk the buildings to make sure everything was done that was in the plan. So there's a lot of checks and balances, which is why it's kind of a longer process this way. But again, if it gets you $900,000 or $1 million worth of work just for your energy savings and no cost to the taxpayers, that's $900 million worth of work that you can get done. So that's sort of the outline of what it is. Part of the component that might be able to increase your savings a little bit beyond that is solar. And so we have to look at that because your system size is a little small for what they call a power purchase agreement. And that's where, again, there's a different company that would come in, just like we would bid the regular projects. We would sort of do an RFP for, it's not a low bid scenario, for solar. And those solar companies would come in theoretically and bid and give you a cost per kilowatt hour. So let's say you're paying 10 cents a kilowatt hour for electric. Now they may tell you they'll do it for 4 cents. So there's no cost to you. They just make their money on you paying them 4 cents a kilowatt hour for that 15-year. And that savings that you get can contribute to this ESIP, which also allows you to do potentially some more projects. So we looked at that, and you might have about another $100,000 in savings you might be able to get from solar. With that, we would recommend, because you're kind of small, that you might want to look at, and we can talk about this in detail, about maybe doing a shared service agreement with one of the other neighboring school districts, and then maybe that bumps the size of the solar up to increase more interest in the project and get some of the bigger companies that might want to do that. And that's a way that they can, whatever school district, they can keep their savings, you would keep your savings, but it gets a company that would come out and bid because they get the whole thing. So that's part of that process as well. And then, the fees are broken out accordingly to match up with each of those phases so that they're commensurate to the scope of work and the effort that goes into it. So kind of a complicated process, but there are a lot of checks and balances, and like I said, it is a method that the state offers to allow you to do things with zero tax impact. So I don't know if there's specific questions on the process, the the proposal or both?
Anyone have any questions? Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, great.
Next, we have a presentation by Jackie Trizolina, Director of Elementary Education.
Good evening, everyone. The Student Safety Data System is an electronic platform that school districts are required to input certain pieces of data. In this case, they combine the former electronic violence and vandalism reporting system and the former harassment, intimidation, bullying, investigations, trainings, and program system. So they combined those two platforms and it created the Student Safety Data System. And this type of data is used for a variety of federal and state requirements that you see in front of you. The data is put in twice a year. So our first submission covers September 1st, 2018 through December 31st, 2018. So incidents are put into this system. There are two types of HIB incidents that are put in. HIB alleged, those investigations that were found to be unfounded, and HIBs confirmed, those that have been confirmed to be a HIB. So in the Frog Pond Elementary School, we did 12 investigations. 8 of them were unfounded, 4 of them were founded. In the Mitchell School, we did 5 investigations. 4 that were unfounded, 1 that was confirmed. And in the Early Childhood Center, there were no investigations from September 1st to December 31st. Also, other data that is put into there are other incidences that may lead to the did lead to the removal of students, whether it be an in-school suspension or an out-of-school suspension. And if they rise to a certain level of violence, we need to identify it as such. So in the Frog Pond School, there was 1 incident that did rise to that level. It was a threat, a simple threat. There were 2 students that received an out-of-school suspension during that time period. In the Mitchell School, there were no incidences that rose to the level of violence that would be documented here, and there were no students that had an in-school or out-of-school suspension. And as you can see, the same thing for the Early Childhood Center. We also have to document programs and training that we are doing to improve our school climate. Some of the programs, and this is not all of them, you are approving a much longer document that you have access to. These are the highlights of that document. In the Early Childhood Center, some of the programs, they are doing a lot of programs that support both parents and students. We are doing upstander lessons in both the Mitchell School and Frog Pond School. We're even doing a second round for the older students. We are doing monthly district-wide activities related to character ed, and our school safety and climate teams are coordinating that in all 3 of the schools. And we are continuing our student recognition assemblies and student of the month of recognition. In regards to trainings, we held a lot of summer heat workshops that focus on student behaviors. Our staff and substitute teachers received their HIB trainings. We are doing substitute teacher trainings every month. So as soon as those subs are board approved, they do go through an orientation and a training. Our school safety and climate teams are meeting, and we have a lot of parents this year that are involved in those meetings, which is really nice. The entire district at our Professional Development Day in October all attended the Creating a Culture of Kindness workshop. Other PD related to morning meetings. PLC's faculty meetings are highlighting and we are focusing on student behaviors. And we also had a special sit with a soup related to HIP. So those are some of the things that have been going on since September, and we will continue to have a variety of programs and trainings for the remainder of the school year. And that'll be reported out probably probably September is usually when it's required. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have a presentation on CUSAC by John Acapora.
Good evening. Save the best for last. Just kidding. All right, so tonight I'm going to give you an update on our CUSAC. We have been on an improvement plan, which I'm going to explain for the past 2 school years. For those of you that don't know, I just want to give you an overview of what CUSAC is. So it's a quality single accountability continuum, and that's the way that the Department of Education monitors and evaluates all public schools. And it consists of 5 different areas: instruction and program, fiscal management, governance, operations, and personnel. And in this case, we were looking specifically at instruction and program because that was the area that we did have a deficit. So we completed, in 2016, we completed a self-assessment, the county scored the indicators as well, and we did not satisfy the 80% required in instruction and program. The major factors involved did not meet annual measurable objective for ELA, and then also for math. And that led to our district improvement plan. So we looked at for literacy, for math, and then also for our school register summary reporting, which was the attendance. So here are some things that we've done for the past 2 school years. We transitioned to standards-based grading. We implemented a balanced literacy framework, targeted small group instruction that consisted of guided reading and strategy groups. We have a systematic phonics program that we've utilized in all of our kindergarten classrooms and some of our first grade classrooms. We use it for Tier 1 and then also for Tier 2, so whole group and small group interventions. We're continuing to collect assessment to inform instruction. In K-2, we are using DIBELS, which is basically a series of assessments that we're looking at indicators of success for early literacy. We have a district writing benchmark at every grade level. We're utilizing the Fountas and Pinnell benchmark assessment in K-6. We were able to, this past school year, restore weekly professional learning communities for each grade level, continued professional development for all of our teachers, and we have a full-time district literacy coach. For math, we also have the standards-based grading. We have our professional learning communities. We're utilizing formative assessments through our on-course assessment module, and we're collecting and analyzing that data to inform instruction. The professional development available for teachers, and that includes areas of mathematical practices, problem solving, and critical thinking. We're working on using technology to enhance instruction and differentiate it, and then benchmarking and common assessments in grades 3rd through 6th. For attendance, we submitted our information prior to the deadline, August 1st, 2017, and then in the 17-18 we submitted August 2nd, 2018. So we had our interim CUSAC, and just to give you a little bit of behind the scenes, so the state had switched our CUSAC, the indicators that we're using this past school year, and we weren't expecting to go through a full CUSAC until next school year, and they provided districts that were on an improvement plan the opportunity to get off of the plan if you could comply with all the indicators of the new CUSAC. So the new one had 16 indicators with 100 possible points. One piece of it, which is the student achievement, they're looking at our ELA, math, and science proficiency. The student academic progress for just ELA and math, and that progress correlates over to the teachers' SGPs on student growth and how they're performing year to year. The presentation that we do annually of all of our state assessment data, they look at chronic absenteeism, our graduation rate, in this case since we're K-6 it's not applicable. Our curricular documents, they look at 7 specific areas, and then they look at intervention and referral services and our tiered system of support to make sure that we're compliant with the regulation. So our district score, our achievement score was 40 out of 60, and then our curriculum and policy score was a 40 out of 40, which led to an 80 out of 100. So just to look at how we improved, in June of 2017, we were at 75% compliance with instruction and program, and then December 2018, we're now 80%, and so we satisfied the 80% or higher in all of our indicators, so we're now designated a high-performing district. Any questions?
Thank you.
Cologne?
Yes.
Mr. Dalio?
Yes.
Ms. Giannuzzi? Dr. Gross?
Yes.
Ms. Palin?
Yes.
Mr. Zimmerman? Mr. Moncrief?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Now the superintendent's report.
Thank you. First, I recently met with Mr. Blaise Scabetta, a new councilman, and we had a nice conversation and shared some ideas about both school districts and ideas moving forward of how we can form some additional partnerships with them. And then I recently met with Mayor Bobby Jo Crea, and she is absolutely wonderful. We also had a nice conversation and really opened the lines of communication. She's very excited about all the energy saving programs that we have, and she'd like to get more involved at the school districts. Sit with the Soup was held on Wednesday, January 23rd. I had 3 families attend, 1 from Little Egg and 2 from Pinelands. And once again, very nice conversations with them, cleared up some questions about attendance, and they're very pleased with a lot of the things happening in the school districts. Sit with the Soups are scheduled throughout the school year. I typically have them 1 during the day and then 1 at evening every other month. My next one is February 25th at 1 o'clock, and the rest are located on the school website and in the newsletters. The district has an early dismissal February the 14th for PD, and we will be closed Friday and Monday of that week, the 15th and 18th. And then lastly, I was fortunate to attend with my husband and some other staff members the Ed Foundation fundraiser at Antoinette's restaurant Friday evening the 25th. It was absolutely wonderful. The food was amazing. Thank you to Kim Cascone, who's the president of the foundation, and her committee for all of their hard work, and of course for the restaurant for giving us that opportunity to make some money for our students. So thank you very much. It was wonderful. That's all I have.
Thank you. While you were doing that, I got to hold my daughter's coats at the dance.
The father-daughter dance, which I heard was amazing also. Great turnout.
They had fun. Next, we have the residents forum. Agenda items only at this time. The Board of Education recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express a need statement made by a participant limited to 3 minutes as cited in policy number 167. The public may comment on any agenda item at this time. General public comment will occur later in the meeting. Anyone like to comment on any of the agenda items? Seeing no one looking to comment, I'll move on to board work session.
Yes. Or the whole the other agenda. You can look on something if you want. Here, just Nick will start. We have a couple policy updates with Mr. Brown first.
Yeah, the board, we're recommending the abolishment of the current opioid policy that we have. The existing policy is really geared towards high school, and we're looking at incorporating a more appropriate policy for grade school students.
And then the attendance policy, I just want to draw the board's attention to this. We did change this in June of 2017 because of some issues we had with chronic absenteeism and our state reporting of that being that we were higher than the state average, so we did some changes with that. Just a reminder to refer to that policy if you have any questions. It's 5200. The regulation is listed as well, and basically if a student is absent for more than 10% of the school year, they're considered chronically absent. It also defines what is an excused and unexcused absence as per the state regulation and how we have to ultimately report that to the state at the end of the year. So if there's any clarification needed for the board or for the school families, we do have that policy on our website. Budget and Finance.
The Budget and Finance Committee for 2019 was formed after executive session tonight. Mr. Dalio, Dr. Gross, and Mrs. Giannuzzi will be joining us on February 12th, March 12th, and at the regular March board meeting when we'll have a public workshop on the 1920 budget. A reminder that in addition to that public session, we're required to give in April and May. There are meetings where we have public discussion on the budget. May, we're just adopting. There's not much happening at that point, but I would encourage you, if you want to get involved in the budget process, to come to the March meeting. And a reminder to the board members that February 5th, school board is holding a workshop in Jackson. You'll receive an email from Ms. Rosenberg if you're interested in attending. Just reply back and we'll get you signed up.
There were a couple questions. We have a link on our school website that if any one member of the community or parents want to ask questions to the board. They can just go on the link and ask a question. We get them periodically. We did have a few this month. I'm not sure if the parents are confusing the two school districts because there's been a lot more questions at Pinelands in terms of the attendance policy and credit recovery, which doesn't happen at this level. So some of the questions were about doctor's notes and the appeal process. We don't have an appeal process here because they don't lose credit. So the bottom line here is if you're absent, you can send in a doctor's note. It doesn't count towards truancy, but it doesn't excuse the absence. So we still have to report that at the end of the year. And then someone asked about a merit bonus if the district meets the goal of reducing absences. It's not a goal here this year, it has been. So just as a reminder, the district goals here are to improve the social and emotional well-being of students. Attendance is a piece of that. And then the second is to analyze and comprehend the academic needs and strengths of the cohort of students scoring the approaching range on the PARCC assessment. So these are the district goals, and then my merit goals always align with our district goals. So nothing is specifically about attendance, and as I said, they may be confusing the two, but they have the opportunity in both districts to use that form and ask questions. So I'll address these at Pinelands next month. And then the last thing we have is if Mr. President has anything to update us with.
Just want to welcome the two new board members, and also to the extent that anyone hasn't taken care of it, I know we have the ethics email that came out from the Jersey School Board, so if we haven't done that, make sure you get on that before the New Jersey School Board comes after us. And be on the lookout in the coming months for the superintendent review process to start. You'll get emails for that, and if there's any questions, feel free. That's all. So we'll move on to item 12 on the agenda, finance. Recommend motion to approve finance items A through R. Can I have a motion? Are there any questions on any of the items A through R? Seeing no questions?
All right, roll call, Mr. Malone.
Yes.
Mr. Dalio.
Yes.
Mrs. Giannott.
Yes.
Dr. Gross.
Yes.
Mrs. Palin.
Yes.
Mr. Zimmerman.
Yes.
Mr. Moncrief.
Yes.
Finance motion's carried.
Moving on to facilities, number 13, recommend motion to approve facilities item A. I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any questions on the motion?
Mr. Malone.
Yes.
Mr. Dalio.
Yes.
Mrs. Giannott.
Yes.
Dr. Gross.
Yes.
Mrs. Palin.
Yes.
Mr. Zimmerman.
Yes.
Mr. Moncrief.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item 14, technology, recommend motion to approve technology item A. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Second. Are there any questions on the motion? No questions?
Mr. Malone.
Yes.
Mr. Dalio.
Yes.
Mrs. Giannott.
Yes.
Dr. Gross.
Yes.
Mrs. Palin.
Yes.
Mr. Zimmerman.
Yes.
Mr. Moncrief.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item 15, new business, recommend motion to amend the agenda to approve the following recommendations of the superintendent of schools. Jose Castaneda, 3 days without pay, 1/12/19, 1/3/19, 1/8/19. Lisa Willow, 7 days without pay, 4/8, 4/9, 4/10, 4/11, 4/15, 4/16, and 4/17 of 2019. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Second? Second. Any questions? No questions?
Mr. Malone.
Yes.
Mr. Dalio.
Yes.
Ms. Giannott. Dr. Gross.
Yes.
Mrs. Palin.
Yes.
Mr. Zimmerman.
Yes.
Mr. Moncrief.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Informational items, the following items are presented for informational purposes only. Community school financials, correspondence from Mr. Cole Facilities, financials from NutriServe. Item 17, personnel. Recommend motion to approve personnel items 1 through 10. Can I have a motion? Motion. Is there a second? Are there any questions? No questions?
Roll call, remember we have a couple of extensions in this list, guys. So, Mr. Malone.
Yes, except for 3. J, abstain.
Thank you, Mr. Dalio.
Yes.
Ms. Giannott. 5 that. Okay. Dr. Gross.
Yes.
Mrs. Palin.
Yes.
Your abstentions are
G.
3 GHI, I think.
Oh, I didn't remember you were that far ahead. Yeah. Agent, letter on. Yeah.
All right, Mr. Zimmerman?
Yeah, we came for most of this, right?
The abstentions are, there's a conflict.
Only it's conflict. Say yes.
And Mr. Moncrief?
Yes.
That motion carries.
Item 18, HIB, recommend motion to approve harassment, intimidation, and bullying cases as per executive session. Can I have a motion? Motion. Second? Second. Any questions? No questions?
Mr. Bloom?
Yes.
Mr. Dalio? Yes. Ms. Januzzi? Yes. Dr. Gross?
Yes.
Ms. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Zimmerman?
Yes.
Mr. Moncrief?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item 19, policies and procedures, recommend motion to approve policies and procedures, items A through G. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second? Second. Any questions? No questions?
Mr. Bloom?
Yes.
Mr. Dalio?
Yes.
Ms. Januzzi?
Yes.
Dr. Gross?
Yes.
Mrs. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Zimmerman?
Yes.
Mr. Moncrief?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Informational items, the following items are presented for informational purposes: enrollment and attendance reports for month ending December, health office reports for the same month, suspension reports for the same month, and fire emergency drill reports for the same month. Item 20, public comment. The floor is now open to members of the public. The Board of Education recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express with each statement made by the participant, limited to 3 minutes. As cited in policy 167, there's a sign-in sheet located on the podium. Please sign in before you speak. Anyone like? No public comment? Move on to board forum. Let's start with Ms. Januzzi.
Well, I want to say congratulations to the volunteers of the month in TJM and for Parkline and the students of the month. Really great job by Sienna and Sage over at TJM and Julia at Parkline. Presentation was very informative, and also if some of the retirees are here, I would just want to say we'll miss you and congratulations, and you're going to love it.
Mr. Zimmer?
No, I'm going to say I'm still soaking it all up. Thanks.
Mr. Dalia?
Yeah, just one thing. So if everyone had a wonderful New Year's, get ready for a new year. That's it.
Dr. Gross?
Same thing that's been said with one additional thanks to Ann and Nick for the clean audit report and the business office for doing that.
Mr. Taylor?
That's the only thing I want to do is thank Ann Tracemeyer for her work all these years.
It takes all of us in the board office. It's just, it takes everybody.
I don't know what we would do without her, but we will have to find out.
Sovereign control.
Yeah.
Mr. Blanc?
Welcome to the new board members, and Ann, thank you for all your service throughout the years. And congratulations to the retirees. I'm only a couple of years away, so I'm looking forward to it.
No, you're not. No.
I have nothing else to add. We are not going to adjourn at this time. We're going to move into a training by New Jersey School Boards. I believe Marianne Friedman is
in the hall.
coming here.
Yes, she's in the hall.
Anyone wants to stick around?
Thank
for
you,
that
everyone.
training?